Welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. This is our first episode of 2024, and we're continuing our season on Stairway to Serenity. If you want to catch up on the whole season, you can start from the beginning. We have a link in our show notes. But this week, we all have the propensity to try and escape situations that make us feel uncomfortable. We do whatever we can to avoid feeling any mental disturbances. But any temporary solution is only temporary. What can we do to make it more permanent? Let's tune in and hear some of the practices we can engage in to help us push through our comfort zones and embrace peace.
Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavan Krishna shares an analysis of bhaktas. I'm going to share this with you now. You analyze what kind of bhakta or devotee are you. The samanya bhakta, which means general devotee, feels a divine presence in a murti, in an idol. Higher than that, the Vishesha Bhakta. That is a great devotee, feels a divine presence in others. Not all people, but in others. Whether it would be their guru or one who is selfless. And higher than that is the Uttama Bhakta. The greatest devotee who feels a divine presence in themselves as their self. What is amazing about what I've just shared with you from Srimad Bhagavatam, and you'll find this peppered throughout our shastras, our scriptures, is that irrespective of how vicious or virtuous we are still called bhaktas. Here, Bhagavan Krishna called all of us bhaktas, correct? In Bhagavad Gita, the same sentiment is shared as everyone is a bhakta. There's just a different intensity. What's also lovely with such frameworks, this shows the consistency and importance of swadhyaya. We all need a reference for where we are so that we can grow up from that reference. If we don't have a reference, like a GPS, if it doesn't know where you are, it can't help you get to where you need to go. There has to be that establishment. Share with me in the chat, how does one evolve from being a general devotee to being a great devotee to being the greatest devotee? What will you do to move up this ladder? Share with me in the chat. Japa. Increase faith, self-reflection, serve, meditate, contemplate. You are all great devotees. Because you've answered this correctly, it is through reflection. In Sanskrit, there's so many words like manana, vichara, etc. When we reflect, whatever teachings, whatever guidance is shared with us makes sense. Mathematically, whenever we think of infinity, we think of every number. Negative numbers, prime numbers, whole numbers, fractions. Agreed? There's no exclusivity in infinity mathematically. Then why do we break that down when it comes to philosophy? Infinity includes me, includes you. Reflection helps us to make sense of teachings, guidance. And that is how this science of Vedanta, the science of knowing thyself, has been shared with us in a vocabulary that encourages reflection. And those who do reflect, they keep internalizing that this divinity goes from an idol to another to oneself. Just shift it to finding happiness in an article, to a being, to oneself. Reviewing our last class. Headspace 36, Purushartha. In English, purpose. This headspace requires, demands great strength. Strength in which way? To give up any other purpose in life other than peace. When you have this strength that the only purpose for today, tomorrow, forever is moksha or peace, then all of the other micro purposes we have, like planning holidays, cleaning the house, building a portfolio, etc., all of those become means to that ends. But if you're trying to hold on to pleasure and peace, possession and peace, position and peace, you get neither. You neither get peace, nor are you able to, in an extrovert way, enjoy that position, possession, and pleasure, because you know that's not peace. Strength. Strength comes from sincerity. Sincerity comes from steadiness. Headspace 37, prayas. In English, pleasure. When I was speaking about this, I used the word instinct quite often. The instinct I'm referring to here is not physical, but mental. Vivek has physical instincts that I was born with. It's like if I went to a physician and they tapped on my knee, I have enough cartilage in my knee and nerves in my knee. I'm healthy enough that I will automatically jerk my leg up. I was born like that. It's going away, but I was born like that, like you were. But the instinct to choose pleasure, that has been nurtured by intention. Intentionally, if I keep choosing pleasure, 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 naturally that's going to become my instinct. So if I want to change my instinct, I have to be more intentional. This is very practical and relates so much to the next headspace, which is 38, Shreyas. Shreyas means vision. The vision to live life in the maximum. By a physical show of hands right now, and I try to make this class, this course, as reflective as possible, how many of you feel that you are living your life to the maximum, meaning you're living your life to the maximum potential you have today, by show of hands? I see only 2.5 hands on my first screen. I have multiple screens that I can see you in. That is a very low percentage. And I don't mean that in a debilitating way, but rather in a self-analysis way, that our instinct right now is preyas and not shreyas. Shreyas is always hard in the beginning, but easy in the end. Last week, I gave the example of telling the truth. When someone asks, how do they look? It's hard to tell the truth. However, it becomes easy in the end because that person will come to you for honest advice and honest perspective. Yes. And everything important in life is like this. When all of you make resolutions to exercise more on January 1, it's going to be hard, correct? But for those who actually follow through with this, let's say we fast forward to June 1, it will become easy then, right? It'll be harder for you not to exercise than to exercise. Vision. We continue. 2 more headspaces. 39. Dukha nivrtti. Dukha nivrtti. In English, escaping. Escaping. I am most appreciative that the majority of you listen carefully, write carefully. I can see that. What I'm asking you to do right now is to not write, only listen. And to help you do this is close your eyes. Please don't write. Please do listen. Close your eyes. I'm going to read to you the insights about dukha nivrtti from the Seeker's Word Book. Dukha nivrtti, escaping, avoiding physical pain and mental sorrow. We have a natural propensity to distance ourselves from discomfort. This behavior manifests in everyday occurrences, such as postponing responsibilities or deflecting challenges. However, escaping pain does not equate to embracing peace. Pushing our comfort zone is the only way to grow. I'm going to read this again. Please listen even more carefully. Reflect even more personally. Dukha nivrtti. In one word, escaping. In one sentence, avoiding physical pain and mental sorrow. In one paragraph, we have a natural propensity to distance ourselves from discomfort. This behavior manifests in everyday occurrences such as postponing responsibilities or deflecting challenges. However, escaping pain does not equate to embracing peace. Pushing our comfort zone is the only way to grow. Our programming has 2 basic designs, which are dukha nivrtti and the next headspace that is coming. We are programmed to escape from pain. A sociologist would describe this as fight, flight, or freeze. Prince Arjuna, he didn't fight or flight, he froze. This escaping from pain is a physical orientation. Very much like I described my knee-jerk reaction. We have devolved this to not be physical, but to be mental. We do whatever we can to escape from the pain in our mind. What is this pain? It is stress, it is anxiety, it is fear, it is jealousy. And how do we escape from this? Watching more, buying more, eating more, talking more. And that's why I described in one of our classes that we've all become escape artists. We are experts at escaping from our own minds. But tell me, how long does that last? It's like and I'm only referencing what I have learned from movies because I have no experience in this. But someone who's addicted to a drug, they have to engage in that drug more for that same high. Correct? What they did on day 1 is not going to carry over to day 100. They need to increase that drug for that same high they got on day 1. To escape from the mind temporarily is dangerous. And I feel so much of society, including life coaches, this is what they teach. Asana, engage in exercise. Pranayama, control your breath. Mantras, chant this. But the whole purpose of yoga, as I've shared with all of you, is to transcend the mind. That means you can't escape from the mind, but you have to face it. Facing it means understand it, appreciate it. That's pushing one's comfort zone. And a practical way to do this, do that which is important. If you steadily engage in that which is important, you will start to feel you are important. Your mind will heal. Your mind will become strong. Those who don't do what's important, they live in a busy way. I've observed those who are busy contribute very little to society. Do what is important. That means no postponing, no procrastinating. Are you strong enough to do that? Imagine every high school student did not procrastinate. Imagine every adult didn't postpone being happy. Our society would be swarga. We'd all be living in heaven. And this leads us to our 40th headspace, which is sukha prapti. Here too, I want this to be reflective. So everyone, please don't write. Please do listen as I read to you from the Seeker's Word Book. Sukha prapti. In one word, striving. In less than 10 words, regaining the highest, thus no longer seeking gain. In less than 50 words, most of the happiness we experience is just an escape from pain. Sukha prapti is a dynamic experiencing of the presence of peace. Insights into the futility of pain and insights into the utility of peace are the key to grow out of escaping and into embracing. Momentarily open your eyes. Look at the icon. Again, hard for you to see. This is a bird's nest on a tree with no birds inside that nest on that tree. Reflect on the icon. Before I share my reflections, and now you can open your eyes. Before I share my reflections on sukha prapti, you share yours. Share keywords about the 1 word, 10 words, 50 words, and the icon. What did you reflect on? Look inside. Find inner peace. Strive so hard that you don't have to be born again. Escaping is futile. Good. And the empty bird's nest, that bird was born to leave that nest. Why do you think you were born? To have big muscles, to be popular, to be related to 50 people. You were born to leave this body, meaning to be the spirit. I'm going to share some logical thoughts about this idea of escaping from pain versus embracing peace. What is the best way to escape from pain? The best universal way to escape from pain? Sleep. That's what people do in discourses, correct? Discourse is dukha. What to do? Sleep. That's the nivrtti. Why there's no experience of pain in sleep? Because there's no equipments in sleep. You don't know what your body type is. You don't know what your mind type is. But what's still there in sleep? Experiences are not, equipments are not, but what's still there is ego. The ego is still there, and it's just a matter of time, really, before that ego starts to flow through those equipments to create the experience of pain. So sukha prapti is to go deeper. In our culture, there's a significant difference between saying I am happy and I am happiness. I am happy is an experience. I am happiness is my nature, which means I have to go deeper than the ego. Share with me some practices to go deeper than the ego. What does it mean to live egolessly, to let go of the ego? Share some practices. Be the observer, active listening, complain less, reduce dependency on input, selfless work. I don't even think you need this course. I don't even think you need me because you know all of this. Just like Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, correct? They also knew all of this, but we're not able to follow. And that's why it's so critical to have a guide, because a guide will hold your hand to follow what is being shared. When you practice all that you've shared, you will reach the deepest. Another word for deepest is highest. And factually, how do you know that you've reached the highest? It is when you no longer seek gain. The highest gain is factually when you cannot seek anything higher because you're at the highest, correct? In Bhagavad Gita, the sentiment is to act out of fulfillment, not for fulfillment. And reiterating how practical this is, the way to practice sukha prapti is to have a role model. Role models, plural obviously is better. Those who show us it's possible to live happily, to live happiness. If you're always around people who are miserable, you will feel that is natural. I think I've shared this with you before. I once spoke at a cardiology symposium in Munster. Some of our seekers are from Munster. There's around 400 cardiologists and cardiology patients. And I was speaking on making sense of stress. And I began by asking everyone, how many of you have experienced stress in the past week? And it's a big room. They're almost like speaking around me. So like 90% of the people had their hands up. And everyone was looking at each other and smiling. Like, you have stress, I have stress. We're like a team. This is normal, right? See how we've normalized stress? We've normalized what condition our heart is in? That's not normal. We have to be around role models who show us it's normal to be happiness. Just to make this personal. When I put our older son Vyasa to bed, he has a book in his room called No Hit Hula. No Hit Hula. And it's about this tiger who uses his hands because he can't use his words. And what does he do with his hands? He hits his friends. So he's at a park and he sees this monkey that's annoyed by these hippos. And he thinks that this monkey is going to hit these hippos because that's all he knows. But what does the monkey do? Instead of hitting the hippos, he starts to dance. The monkey engages in a hula. It's called the no-hit hula. And slowly that tiger starts to do the same thing because he thinks it's normal to hit, but now his normal has changed. It is to hula, not hit. See the depth of Vedanta. So this holiday season, be vigilant, be careful about the models around you. Are they models that you want to model yourself after? Or they're models that normalize stress, anxiety, and sadness?
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.